Hello lovely human beings, it's Loretta with Sparrowhawker Designs. Welcome back to my channel. So today I am sharing with you the front cover and the back cover for a fabric book that I am making. The fabric book will have pages that will have like pockets and that kind of thing, and I will make very small simple paper journals to go in those pockets. So anyway, the front cover and back cover is all slow stitch. I'm not sure how much of the inside is going to be slow stitching. I haven't decided yet, but so this is going to get sewn on to this piece of fabric here. And then, in fact, these are all the pages. These have been tea dyed or coffee stained, I don't remember which. And I will just sew down through the middle there. This is an old piece of, I don't know what that is. It kind of feels like a hemp maybe, or an old piece of pretty heavy duty muslin. Anyway, I haven't decided if I'm going to just leave it like that, just sew this on and just leave it, or if I'm going to put dangles and trim. I haven't decided. I really kind of like this sort of prairie, I call it like prairie look. I don't know what else to call it. And of course, you know, the prairie look, if you're in America, is kind of more like homespun and simple, and not a whole lot of bling and not a whole lot of fancy you know, laces and dangles and stuff. So I don't know, I haven't decided yet exactly what I'm gonna do. Anyway, I have 3 vintage buttons over here. This is a little stamp piece of fabric that came from Sarah at Roxy Creations by Sarah. And this is an old piece of trim and a little flower. And then the image, I'm going to do a video actually on how I made these images. There are other videos out there that show you how to do it. Obviously, that's where I learned. But I will do a video on it. To me, you can just never have too many videos of that type of technique, because you never know when somebody's going to have a little piece of information that might help you that somebody else, you know, didn't think of, or, you know, doesn't use or whatever. So if you just want to see that up close. So there's some feather stitch here going sideways and feather stitch over here. And then the back cover, this is the back cover. So I wanted to point out also that I kind of use a combination of vintage fabrics and new fabrics when I do slow stitching. And you can do whatever you want. I know a lot of people really stress over not having the quote-unquote proper supplies. And I know that I know some people who have no vintage fabrics at all. All they have are new fabrics. And I know people just the opposite. They have no new fabrics. All they have is access to the old vintage fabrics. So, you know, there's no right or wrong to this. You can use whatever you want. And you can use a combination, which is what I did. So this piece and this one are all 3 vintage. Everything else on here is brand spanking new, like literally that I bought from a quilt store in this year, in 2022. So I buy yardage for my quilts, but then I also have a tendency to buy like fat eighths or fat quarters or little charm packs, which are just 5x5s or whatever. And I do that on purpose because I use a lot of small pieces and this type of thing. But anyway, let's see. And I also have a quilt store that's pretty nice to me. Whenever they have like leftover scraps, they put them into a bag and let me buy them that way. So, because they know I use just little pieces. It's a piece of cheesecloth there. So I did, on around this and around the photo, I did do some stitching on my sewing machine. but everything else is hand stitched. And yeah, so these images are, let me see, this is a couple examples of images that I have that I did like this one. So these are actually, they're put down onto whatever fabric you choose using gesso. You can also do it with Mod Podge as well, and I think there's several other things you could use. Maybe just any ordinary acrylic, even. I don't know. So what you do, and I will go through this again in the video, but I just wanted to tell you real quick in case you don't watch that video. So you take your image that you want, and it does have to be printed on inkjet. No, laser, sorry. It has to be printed on laser, not inkjet, because inkjet will the ink will kind of run, but the laser won't. And you just take your picture and you paint it with gesso or Mod Podge or whatever, and you put it down on your piece of fabric, spread it all out, and then you let it dry. A lot of people tell you to dry it overnight. I think that usually like 5 hours is enough time for me. You could also use a hair dryer. Yeah, and then you take water and you just start rubbing the paper off, and what you get is this. And I will tell you, it's a pain in the butt. Like, this is not for it takes forever and it's a pain in the butt, but I absolutely love the result. And it's really hard because sometimes you're rubbing along and it's okay to lose chunks of your picture, but just try to make sure you don't lose chunks of your face because that would be bad. And then what I do differently than the other people that I've seen on YouTube is that then I cover them in wax. I put some wax pellets down, put a piece of paper over it, and iron it, and the wax goes out and seals that. So it seals the photo so that you don't keep losing flakes of it. It also kind of clears it up because I'll show you in the video that I make on it. When you're done with this, when you're done kind of rubbing it all off, when you let it sit, it will get kind of a milky cast over it, and you can't really see your image that well. And I personally don't want to keep rubbing because I will end up losing my image. So I thought, well, I'm going to try some wax and see what happens. And sure enough, it clears it all up completely. And yeah, and they're on, the wax is why it's discolored there. But yeah, so it's on fabric. You can sew through it like I showed you here. You do have to kind of be careful because you will get wax on that little thing. What is that? That little toothy thing underneath your, like the fabric feeder, I guess, is what that's called, on your sewing machine. You will get wax on that, so you kind of got to be careful. And it also will be kind of stubborn. You might have to actually like lift your presser foot and kind of just move it forward slightly because sometimes it will kind of get stuck and not want to go forward because, let's face it, your sewing machine is not used to sewing wax. So, but I did hand stitch this, and it's fine. You can't do like a running stitch, but you can go up and down and up and down and up and down, and that's exactly what I did. So you don't even have to do the machine stitching if you really didn't want to, or if your machine just won't do it. You can, because I'm warning you now, it will gunk up that thing underneath your sewing machine, and I don't want to be responsible for anybody running their machines. So sew at your own risk. But anyway, all right, guys, that's it. I just wanted to show you the covers for this book. Or this fabric book, and I can't wait to get started on the inside. Up next for me, though, should be a video on the images. So I will talk to you guys later. Bye.